urgent. The Caucasus is erupting, Baku is turning the tables on the Kremlin, Azerbaijan is moving closer to NATO, and Aliyev has made a sensational statement. Moscow is in shock, Russia is losing its grip in the Caucasus, and Armenia has delivered a stab in the back to Putin. The unbelievable has happened. Turkey has dealt a decisive blow to Putin. More on all this coming up. Watch until the end. Greetings. Reporting from Ukraine today, I am Renata Aslanova. The latest developments. The Caucasus is finally turning away from the Russian Federation. A sensation from Baku. Azerbaijan has set a course for closer ties with NATO. Yes, the country's army will be transitioned to alliance standards. This was stated by the head of Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev, during a meeting with NATO representatives.
The head of state emphasized that the Azerbaijani army is being brought in line with NATO standards, and in this context, it is closely cooperating with the Turkish army.
Representatives from 15 countries attended the event, including Turkey, Greece, Hungary, the Netherlands, Portugal, and Spain. According to Aliyev, Azerbaijan has achieved its main goal since gaining independence at the beginning of the last century, the liberation of its lands from occupation. Now, the leader of Azerbaijan has stated that the process of modernizing their army will continue. In this regard, Aliyev mentioned the expansion of relations between Baku and NATO. He also pointed out the vast opportunities for the entire region that have opened up after the peace agreement with Armenia, organized by the White House. And such an improvement in relations between Baku and Yerevan has seriously angered the Kremlin. Pro-Kremlin propagandists immediately came out with new statements.
Ilham Aliyev, at the ceremony marking the anniversary of the Azerbaijan Academy of Sciences, delivered a keynote speech about the future of Armenia. The great ethnographer and historian is preparing Armenians for a return to the fold of the brotherly Turkic world. Everything will be done gently and with love. The last statement looks especially amusing from our northern latitudes. For any member of the diaspora who's been caught by the gills, two homelands of the first and second freshness immediately appear.
Rhetoric about Baku moving closer to the west, while at the same time distancing itself from Moscow, had been observed before as well. For example, Aliyev stated in an interview that in 1920, the Russian Bolshevik army invaded and occupied Azerbaijan. The president of the country also acknowledged that relations between Moscow and Baku have deteriorated.
We are not responsible for the deterioration of relations. We respond constructively and lawfully, but we have never felt any signs or manifestations of aggression or disrespect towards us.
Armenia, by the way, also stabbed Putin in the back. The country's Prime Minister, Nikol Pashinyan, stated during his speech at the 5th Tbilisi Silk Road Forum that a positive dialogue with Turkey gives hope that the border can be opened in the near future.
We are not only politically but also technically ready to ensure the transit of freight trucks through Turkey to Azerbaijan as early as today, and vice versa. The roads and border infrastructure on the territory of Armenia are ready for this.
Pashinyan also stated that in the near future, pipelines, power lines, as well as railway and road communications will be established across the territory of Armenia from Azerbaijan to Nakhchivan, and also between Yerevan, Baku, and Ankara.
This major project is important not only from an economic perspective, but also as a step toward peace and stability. One of its outcomes will be the opening of a peaceful route connecting Azerbaijan with Nakhchivan.
Moreover, Armenia appears to have set its course toward the European Union, putting an end to the imperial dreams of the dictator. Where does this aspiration come from, and how will Russia, which can no longer control the post-Soviet countries, react to this step? Find out in our report.
The Armenian government will continue to follow the European course despite the fact that some political forces insist on closer ties with Russia. This was stated by Armenian Foreign Minister Ararat Mirzoyan in an interview with Deutsche Welle.
Quite a lot of time has passed, but I think that relations between Azerbaijanis and Armenia are moving in the right direction, the right path. And there are very serious negotiations underway. And by the beginning of this year, a fundamental agreement had already been reached on the main points of the peace accord between Azerbaijan and Armenia.
Mirzoyan also spoke about negotiations with Azerbaijan and the beginning of the process to determine the general position of the border between Armenia
and Azerbaijan. A declaration, among other things, was initialed. A document on peace between Azerbaijan and Armenia was initialed.
For the first time in 35 years, Kazakh grain was delivered from Azerbaijan to Armenia. A positive trend toward peace was also noted by the president of Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev. Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan assured that Armenia is technically ready even today to provide transit for cargo trucks through its territory from Turkey to Azerbaijan and in the opposite direction.
And then we became acquainted with the statement from the Armenian side, from the leadership of Armenia, which declared that Armenia's territory is also open for transit shipments from various countries to Azerbaijan.
Regarding Russia, the head of the Armenian Ministry of Foreign Affairs refers to it as the main partner in the economy and trade. But at the same time, the politician points out that there were many issues on which Armenia and Russia reached an agreement. However, on many other issues, the countries have still not found common ground.
Democracy is our choice. We are deepening our relations with the EU and the US, that is, with our strategic partners.
Cooperation with other countries is our sovereign choice, our decision. So, either normal partners respect each other and each other's decisions, or this partnership needs to be renewed.
According to Ararat Mirzoyan, even before submitting an official application and receiving a response from the European Union, Armenia has already started working with it, significantly deepening bilateral relations. In addition, negotiations are underway regarding several new documents. Work on the new partnership program has been completed. It will be signed within the next 3 months.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now. Nikol Pashinyan also commented on Armenian-Turkish relations, stating that they are on the right track. He also emphasized that he considers his recent visit to Turkey very successful and invited Erdogan to participate in the European Political Community Summit. And Erdogan himself is also delivering a powerful blow to Russian oil. The country's largest oil refineries are massively switching to non-Russian oil after the harsh sanctions imposed by the US, EU, and the UK against the Kremlin's energy sector. Turkey is now trying to diversify its supplies to avoid the risks associated with trading raw materials that finance Russia's war against Ukraine. According to Reuters, one of the country's largest oil refineries, SOCAR, which belongs to an Azerbaijani company, recently purchased 4 batches of crude oil from Iraq, Kazakhstan, and other producers. And that's not all. Gazprom has also come under fire. A sharp turnaround by Ankara. Western media was shocked. Russia may lose its last major European gas market in Turkey. Yes, Ankara could meet more than half of its gas needs by the end of 2028 by increasing domestic production and boosting imports from the US.
Right now, Turkey has several options. Domestic production, pipeline gas from Azerbaijan, and an increasing number of LNG terminals. As a result, the country is no longer dependent on Russian gas. This situation gives Turkey a strong negotiating position, which makes it possible to push for lower prices on Russian gas, since Russia has no alternative markets for these volumes.
Trump is betting on Erdogan. It is the Turkish leader who could put an end to the war and rein in Putin. Is Erdogan ready to play big and change the course of history? Sensational details. Coming up next.
Trump named the president who, in his opinion, could potentially help to find a solution to Russia's ongoing war against Ukraine.
Putin respects him, and he is my friend.
Recep Tayyip Erdogan is actively involved in peace efforts to end Russia's war against Ukraine. He positions his country as a reliable mediator. The first negotiations after the start of the full-scale war took place in Istanbul in the spring of 2022. Several rounds of negotiations between representatives of the Kremlin and Ukraine, after the resumption of direct dialogue in the summer of 2025, also took place in Turkey.
Turkey has always advocated for a diplomatic path to achieve this goal. Now, after 3 years of immense suffering, however, there is
An extraordinary opportunity. We
hope that the negotiations in Istanbul will open a new chapter.
Turkish mediation was also absolutely decisive and played a crucial role in the successful implementation of the Black Sea Grain Initiative, also known as the Grain Corridor, which was and still is considered vital and essential for ensuring global food security. The Turkish company Baykar continues to integrate Ukrainian-made engines into its combat drones. Ukrainian engineers are undergoing internships at the Baykar plant in Istanbul, and in the future they will form the team to work at the facility in Ukraine, which is currently under constant attack by Russia during its construction.
Iron, concrete, and buildings can be restored. What truly matters is our will and faith in this project. No missile can harm our friendship.
Turkey's support for Ukraine is not limited to Bayraktars and mediation.
And we have demonstrated our solidarity with Ukraine in practice by providing concrete assistance in political, economic, humanitarian, and technical spheres.
Turkey has closed the straits to the Black Sea for Russian warships, which significantly limits the aggressor's capabilities in the southern direction. And it is providing Ukraine with missiles with a range of 20 to 70 kilometers for destroying both stationary and moving ground targets.
On the 500th day of the war, which we will soon mark, the Ukrainian people are bravely defending the territorial integrity and independence of the country.
The year 2025 has changed a lot in Ankara's relations with Moscow. The Kremlin feels the distancing of an old partner, realizing that it has fewer and fewer allies. And here comes another blow from Erdogan. By the end of 2028, Turkey plans to meet more than half of its natural gas needs through its own production and imports from the United States. The Kremlin understands that this means a loss of money and will lead to a reduction in supplies from Russia to a key European market.
We won't run out of gas. We have more gas than the rest of the world combined.
We have it, but does anyone need it? And it's not just about gas. At present, Turkey has implemented a decision to build 3 different military ships, which will take the country's navy another step forward. Turkey plans to develop one of the aircraft carriers together with Spain. Its size is approaching that of American nuclear aircraft carriers. In the summer of 2025, Turkey joined the drone coalition led by Latvia and the United Kingdom. Currently, the coalition already includes 20 countries that are providing military assistance to Ukraine in this area. In 2025, the coalition members committed to allocate €2.075 billion to support Ukraine and have already contributed $180 million to the Joint Procurement Fund.
Just as we declared our rejection of the war 3 years ago when the conflict began, today we are determined to do everything possible to end the war through negotiations. In doing so, we continue our steadfast support for territorial integrity, sovereignty, and the independence of Ukraine.
Turkey has declared its readiness to participate in the reconstruction of Ukraine. Projects have already been planned in the fields of energy, energy efficiency, social housing, and water supply.
Turkey is interested in ensuring that Ukraine controls the northern coast of the Black Sea and accordingly that Russia does not appear there. In addition, Turkey is interested in the reconstruction of Ukraine. It's a huge market. Additionally, Turkey sees an opportunity to intensify the development of its military technical industry, considering that it can receive extra resources from selling its weapons. All of this, taken together, creates a solid foundation for being interested in this process.
Turkey, as a NATO country, was ready to send its troops to Ukraine in order to guarantee the implementation of peace agreements. This initiative was condemned in the Kremlin. Officially, Ankara supports Ukraine's territorial integrity, but tries to maintain a balance between the parties. Turkey is still trying to avoid joining Western sanctions, which, in its view, allows it to remain an effective channel of communication between the Kremlin and Ukraine. And
What do you think about the latest events? Write your opinion in the comments. Like the video to stay up to date with the main news. Next,